This is the Houndsman XP podcast.
Good dog, get that bear. Get that bear in
The original podcast for the complete Houndsman.
Look at your toe to go, Justin Hike! We're gonna get him! We're gonna get him!
The podcast that represents our lifestyle of extreme performance.
Get him there! Get him! Get him! Yeah! Good boy! Good boy, Ranger!
Uniting houndsmen across the globe, from east to west, north to south.
You know, if you're going to catch a cat or a lion, you know, you have to have teamwork.
We take you to the wildest places on earth.
Yeah, so how many days a week can you spend in the day?
As much as I can, to be honest with you. Anytime that I get, I'm out there.
Join us for every heart-pounding adventure on Houndsman XP.
I'll tell you like I tell everyone else, I'm going to hunt whether you're here or not, so you might as well be here.
On this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, Seth Hall is in Oregon, and he catches up with David Church. He spends a day running beagles and chasing rabbits. Seth and David talk about all aspects of running beagles and rabbit hunting in Oregon. Everything from longbows to compound bows to predator effects on beagles. It's all in here, folks. It's a great podcast. And of course, Seth always brings that energy that is just infectious. You're really going to enjoy it. Hey, before we get there, I want to tell you about Dogs Are Treed. If you're a rabbit hunter, if you're a competition coon hunter, if you're a big game hunter, if you are a houndsman and you want top performance, you need to go to Dogs Are Treed and check out their products. Check out specifically Dogs Are Hydrated. Hydration is the number one key for peak performance in our hounds. And Dogs Are Treed has a solution for you. Keep those dogs hydrated with Dogs Are Hydrated. The sled dog community knows the value of this. Big game hunters have been using the Dogs Are Hydrated product with great success. Go there today, dogsartreed.com, and use the promo code HXP, 20% off at checkout. Okay, let me say that again because it sounded like you had to type all that in. It's HXP 20% off when you are checking out. That sounds better. Hey, Seth is wound up, as always. Great energy. The Old South Dog Box is rocking. Let's get the tailgate down. It's time to dump the box.
So, a great day of rabbit hunting, and I'm blown away. This has gone literally exactly how I hoped it would go. So, I'm in the Central Oregon. I guess would this be
no? Central. We're Western Oregon.
Western Oregon, Northwestern, Midwestern. I got
probably Central Western Oregon.
Perfect. And
we're at E.E. Wilson Wildlife Refuge.
Okay, yeah. So it also took me a minute to figure that out, like the name, because everyone's tossing so many names around. I had to get that all dialed in. But why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is David Church. Live in Dallas, Oregon.
And you're a serious beagle man.
Yep, for about 35 years.
I wanted to wrangle you in. When Charlie told me about you, he was really pumped. And he was like, this guy's been running beagles forever, and we're going to have a good time. Because, you know, when I came here, these are a lot of these, Nick and Charlie are just my friends, and they're friends of the show, and they're getting their feet under them. So he was like, oh, yeah, no, David's been doing this a long time. He's going to have good dogs, and you did not disappoint.
Glad we did well.
So why don't you explain a little? Why don't you tell us everyone about your past and how you got into hunting with beagles? And
well, growing up, my dad had big hounds, and so he wouldn't let me tag along, you know, occasionally. But then I got a beagle. My then girlfriend, wife now. We got a beagle as a pet, and she was just out of show dog stock. And one day I was up scouting for elk, and she started barking, and I was wondering why. So then I walked out, and rabbit went by, she went by, and that's how I got started. back then, I'd just drive the roads, and I'd see a rabbit, and I'd turn her out. And then she started. And she was a pretty lazy jump dog because, hell, I gave her the rabbit. And then, probably 2 years later, I was told about this place, E. Wilson, and that there's a bunch of rabbits. So I came down here one day, and I had my wife and my 6-month-old baby girl with me. And it just happened to be the first annual Mary's Peak Hound Club put on a handicap hunt for people in wheelchairs. And so I heard the dogs, and so I said, I'm going to walk out here for a second. I left them in the car. About 3 hours later, I made it back to the car. These guys had whole packs. I mean, it was awesome. And I started looking right away for more dogs, you know. And it took a while. It took me probably 5 years to get, you know, a good pack of hunting dogs. And anyway, that's pretty much how it started and how I got involved with Mary's Peak, we do not so much now with the COVID thing, but we put on all kinds of things. We have a hunt for archers. We have the
shooting arrows at the cottontails as they run by.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, is that even successful?
Yes.
People can do it?
Last year was the first year that we had an archer actually kill one.
How many years of trying?
Probably 10. But my friend George and I, we come out here with our bows, and he's a lot more successusable than I am. But we get rabbits. I mean, there's a lot of flinging and a lot of missing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not just hopping along.
So are you using those? Are you just using a standard broadhead, or are you using like those flus with the judos?
Yeah,
judo
with the judos on it.
Yep.
And that's what we do. We don't shoot very many. We just enjoy the sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
We run jacks and we run the hare up in the mountains, and
there's no way I'm going to let you get away without talking about jackrabbits. You know that, right?
Yeah. So the jackrabbits we hunt are on the tree farms, Christmas tree farms, which there's a lot of them around here. And they're a hardy animal.
Oh.
I mean, it takes a 12 gauge at fairly close range to actually, bring it right down. I don't know if it's because of all the adrenaline or whatever.
They're big and tough.
Yeah, and they're tough. And they run half mile ahead of the dogs probably.
That's what I was going to ask.
And all the tree farms, there's no grass. I mean, they spray it so there's just dirt. So the dog is pretty much a heads up run. I mean, they got to be sitting in the air, not on the ground. If they're running on the ground, and they have to get wild. I mean, here when we run the cottontails, they need to be closer because those rabbits are making jogs. But they've got to get crazy, and they really spread out, because if they don't, the scent's gone. So the dogs will be running 3 rows over, scenting air.
Dang.
So it's fun, and it's.
So in hare coursing in the desert, most of the boring part is just walking until you find a hare, until you find a jackrabbit. And all of us dream of finding a dog, using a finder dog that can just find a jackrabbit. But a lot of the old timers will say, well, jackrabbits don't have scent. They don't give off scent. And obviously we know that they may have a smaller amount of scent than, say, like a elk or a raccoon or something, but they definitely do give off a scent.
Well, they'd have to, because 3 rows over, whatever direction the wind's blowing, and they're running heads up.
So there's a lot of jackrabbit hunters that are listening to this right now that are frothing at the mouth, and they're like, "Oh, David has the Beagles that can do it." So do you think it's an environmental thing, why they're not able to smell jacks very good in the deserts? Do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot drier.
Yeah.
They're sucking up dust.
Yeah. So explain the world here to our listeners all over the world. What kind of terrain are you hunting in, and what are the unique challenges of this place?
We hunt basically every species.
Yeah.
I mean,
for let's say what we're doing today for brush rabbits and eastern cottontaal rabbits.
It takes a hardy dog. I mean, it's thick. I mean, you saw what it was like. I mean, it tears them up. You got to have one that gets in there. I mean, I like a fast dog. So,
what is the definition of fast beagle? What do you think? Miles per hour, movement style.
Everybody has a different
it's all
perspective.
Contextual.
Yeah. I think my dogs are fast, but they might not be back east.
Oh, okay.
I can only compare to what we run here.
So what would be that fast speed? What do you think they're pushing through the brush? What do you think?
Here today, they were about 4.5 miles an hour.
Yeah. They were boogieing pretty good.
Yeah. And it's thick. I mean, that slows them down.
It's not just thick. It's also thick and sharp.
Yes.
It's a different kind of sharp than the southwestern deserts, but that blackberry, it's like the meme of Oregon blackberry, but it's no joke.
No, it's not. And you saw today, we had snow a few weeks ago, and it flattened them down. I mean, there's places where you're watching the rabbit, and the rabbit is hunkering the ground just to get through, and then those dogs come through, and you see the berries moving up and down as they're trying to get through it. And there's places they actually chew their way through.
I could only see in certain times in that thicket of just their little the tips of their tails just wagging furiously. And of course you can hear them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just thought when I was like, oh, I'm no stranger to spiky plants, and I was like, hey, it's just going to be whatever. I know it's going to be thick, but those blackberries are so gnarly. Their needles are tiny and like almost so thin they can stab into you so easily, and then also they grab you. Yeah. Like they're like grippy.
And you wonder why they want to go through it.
But
that's their love. I mean, they'd run themselves to death.
Oh, they are gritty.
They tear themselves to death. I mean, you got to go home and doctor them up, and that's why I have 11 dogs. Because I can run all these guys the 11 miles we did in the Blackberries today and still come out tomorrow with a different pack.
And that is so true.
So, I have the most dogs around here. I like starting and running young dogs.
I hear that a lot.
So I just keep getting more because I don't want to get rid of the other ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I get attached to them. And
what's
like old Bourbon today. He's 11 years old. But I don't want to get rid of him.
He's still got it.
Yeah, he's a good dog for a few hours.
Yeah,
and he enjoys it.
I was going to ask you, what is the lifespan of a good hunting beagle around here? What do you realistically expect to get out of their prime, and then what else can you get out of them that they just keep teaching and going for fun?
Oh, I think they'll go until they die.
Well, yeah.
Most of mine, 13 or 14 years is a pretty good life for them. I think their prime's probably 5 or 6.
So from like 2 years old to 7 years old?
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, you'll know each dog is a little bit different. They're, most of my dogs are built the same, but you'll see other people where their dogs are shorter. I like the dog a little longer.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because they last longer.
I see.
Especially, up over. Those little square dogs just don't last as long. Interesting.
I did notice that your beagles were furrier than any beagle I've ever seen, and also a little longer, and like not lower, but just longer.
I don't know if they're not furrier. They have a thicker coat.
Okay, I see.
But like I said, mine come from Canada, so when they live at 60 below up there, I'm sure the breeding is part of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't even know beagling was big in Canada. Sounds like a lot of your stock comes from Canada.
Yeah, all mine. That's where I started.
Yeah.
A long time ago, when I was looking for dogs, I got a hold of a Beagle magazine, and I went through that thing, and I wrote and called, and only one person ever, and he called me back. It was Branko Kirpan from Manitoba, Canada, Branko's Beagles. And I told him, and he goes, well, I got one here I think you'll like. So he sent her out, super dog, and then I just kept buying. And buying.
Did you build your foundation from that dog you picked?
Oh, yeah. And so I probably 15 years into it. My kids got older, and they were all in sports and all that, and I didn't have the time to, get the dogs like they should. They sat in the kennel a lot. So one day I decided, I don't want to see them sitting out there. Yeah. So I had a friend who lived up in Benton City, Washington. I called him up and I said, do you want all my dogs? He says, yes. So I took them all up there. I got no dogs. So after the sports, after my last one went through high school, I called him up. I said, I want more dogs.
I want them all back.
Well,
it's been time had passed. But
yeah,
so
I mean. He goes, okay, I got 2. So he gave me 2. And I was running those, and I called Branko up again. I said, I want to start getting some more dogs, so I got one. She was still is. I think she's 6 now, 7. Anyway, she was right from 5 months old. She was really good. She finished as a field champion, UKC field champion at 7 months. So, and she's kind of the stock of everything I have.
Dang. So good producer too.
Oh yeah, every single one. I haven't had a bad one out of her at all.
Wow.
So that's I got started again. So
Contender
now,
for best dog.
yeah. So now I'm working back up, and I've gotten I think 5 other dogs from Branko since her. So he doesn't send me anything bad. I mean, if Branko tells me, he tells me straight what it is, you know. And
he's been doing it a long time. I'm assuming a very long time.
Oh yeah, he's. I mean, I would guess in the hunting world of Beagles, he's probably the best, breeder that there is.
And at that age, they're so far beyond ego. Usually, it's just this dog is going to work. I like it. And that's what I found at least.
Yeah, they're not just selling you a cull.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think he keeps culls. I mean, if he tells you about a dog, at least for me, it's been, and when it gets shipped here, I mean, it's hard to get him here. I mean, he's in Canada, I'm in Oregon. The only place they can fly into is Portland, and you can't fly him into Portland anymore because Air Canada cargo doesn't come to Portland. So if I want anything more, I've got to drive to him.
That's a long drive. How far is that drive?
I made it once, and it took probably about 27 hours.
That's how far it is to drive from here to my house.
So, and it was fun. I mean, we got there, he said, what do you want to see run? I mean, field champions, whatever. I mean, he has lots of field champions, international field champions. We said, we want to watch these dogs.
Let's do it.
Let's take them out.
Does he run only Beagles, or does he have other kinds of hunting dogs too?
No, well, I heard that he had some plots at one time, but I don't know.
You're interested in those Beagles.
Yeah, mostly Beagles, and he has 70 or 80 dogs, you know.
Yeah.
He has his own line that he started from way back when, and, you know.
Do you think your dogs are very line bred, or do you think
No, they are very line bred.
Yeah. You're just keeping them tight.
Yeah.
You find what works for you, and you keep that going.
Yeah, and it started with him, you know. Yeah. So they know what dogs they've sent me. So if I want to have a litter, I'll call him and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he'll either say, no, I wouldn't do that one, but I would do this one.
Got it.
So,
do you outcross occasionally to add some diversity, or nope?
I haven't outcrossed with anything I have here. I have before.
Gotcha. It's always it's a very heated, not heated. It's a very common debate in the hound hunting community. My dogs are almost all outcrossed.
Yeah.
There's very little line breeding in there.
You get some vigor.
Yeah.
With that, but with what I have from him, with the breeding that we talk about, I get consistency.
Exactly, and that's the strength of line breeding.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, I can pretty much tell you what those puppies are going to be like. That's
why in my community, a lot of really popular breeding is a purebred greyhound to a purebred Saluki. You're going to get a lot more of that consistency than if you just have I have 2 long dogs, which is that's the term for a hybrid of just sight hound breeds. You know, that litter, Calypso, my female, they're litter mates, and she's 42 pounds, and her brother's 71. I mean, it's a big variation in size. It is. He's a monster. It's those 2 black dogs I showed you in the picture. Those 2 were litter mates, and her head's like this big, you know what I mean? So I was just curious about, your breeding. They're doing it hard. And I was going to ask you if you could explain what we're hunting out here and what kind of rabbits we're running, because I just learned a lot about rabbits today, and I'm a rabbit guy.
Out here we have the Eastern Cottontail, which was introduced here, and we have what we call the brush rabbit, which is what you saw is considerably smaller. Full grown is probably 1.5 pounds.
Yeah, they're really small.
And then they run super tight circles generally. But today we had those ones that ran pretty good.
Today was an exceptional day because you were like, they don't really catch those very often. And then here comes a whole.
And what do? We caught 2.
Yeah, we caught one of each species too. I've never seen an Eastern Cottontail before, ever. Yeah. And Charlie, while we were driving around, he was like, they're everywhere here. And I was like, I haven't seen one splattered on the road, and I haven't seen one anywhere. I'm intentionally looking. I'm a rabbit guy. And so we just needed to.
You don't see many of them on the road, but if you find a patch of blackberries,
they're in there.
They're probably there.
And that's the thing too, is that there's so much cover here that really, they're cover specialists, but it was cool. And you called it exactly right, is when those when the cottontails would pop out of the brush, they were usually much bigger loops. Those brush rabbits, we just stood in one spot, and then he just running around us.
Yep.
And then who caught him? Who brought him back to us? What was his name?
Ozzy,
that's right.
Oh, they got it.
See, this is one of my retrievers.
You're a good boy, Ozzy.
Yeah.
Obviously. Ozzy! To state the obvious. That's badass. That's so awesome.
Yeah, he had a pit bull grip on that thing.
Yes, he did. He didn't want anybody else to have it, but he retrieves every rabbit. And he came straight from Branco.
Is that common for them to pack the rabbits back?
No. Branco's appears to be. I have 3 dogs from Branco, and all 3 of them retrieve.
Huh.
So,
yeah.
Frida says it started back in the 70s with a dog called Branco's Con Man. He started retrieving, and then apparently a lot of theirs do. So it's nice because we would have never seen those rabbits at all.
No clue.
He just brought them out.
And we were too busy flapping our jaws.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have made 10 episodes out there.
Oh,
I don't shut up. And so they went quiet for a while and we didn't even notice. And then Charlie's like, he's carrying a rabbit.
Yeah, here comes Ozzy.
There he comes. And first was a cottontail and then was the brush rabbit later in the day. And you took a crack shot at a brush rabbit.
Yeah.
He's just trying, thinking about it. You got him. You got him.
I think I did. Well, you didn't end up right there, but I'm pretty sure I hit him.
Yeah, I think so too, and I got that on film. So, but this is all new to me, and so I'm pretty exuberant about it. You know, and there's obviously tons of beagle guys listening to this, and a lot of East Coast beagling. When I was in Kentucky recently with my family, I heard beagles. I was trying to see if I could make my way through the brush and make my way to it, but theirs is a lot of brush hog. At least what I saw in Kentucky is brush hogs to clear out lanes everywhere. And then you send the beagles into just like thickets of like weeds and grass and whatever brush. But here I guess we kind of got some of those vibes here at this place. But I guess apparently you guys are hunting beagles in the mountains too.
Oh yeah. Luckily here in Oregon where I live, we have the brush rabbit, we have snowshoes, we have hare that don't turn white. And we have the jackrabbits. So within an hour of my house, I can be running any one of them.
That's awesome.
Here, the snowshoes and the hare that we run are up in the mountains, and it's extremely steep.
Super steep.
And so there's no flat running for them there.
Yeah.
So 25 miles of that in one day, it's a good run. And they make, 3/4 of a mile circle. And like I was telling you, the only issue we ever had with anything off game is we had some young dogs that we just turned them loose and there stood an elk. So they got a lesson then, and we have never had any problem.
Yeah.
Never had a deer race. It just seems like that's what I like about Branco's dogs too. They're intense. You start them on the rabbit, that's what they're looking for. I'm not having to. Well, like today,
yeah,
we had those
deer right there.
Deer running right through the middle of the pack, and not one dog even looked.
I grinned right there. I was like, that was impressive. I mean, that deer was right there. It was like 10 feet away from him, just walking off, and they didn't. They were just going right through their effort.
Yeah.
And that cottontail zipped right through there, and I was like, that is awesome. And
so I mean, that's nice that I don't have to worry about. I just turn them loose.
Yeah.
And I mean, they run across deer and elk every time we're in the mountains. So. One time we were in there and we were leaving, and we had all the dogs packed up except for one of my friend's dogs, and they'd been running this hill for 6 hours. And he had an old dog, kind of like Bourbon, and he'd laid down up there. So we were tracking him through there, and I mean, we were jumping elk the whole time we went through up that hill. So those elk had obviously been there all day.
Yeah.
And it's just nice being able to trust your dog.
Yeah, and this is no disrespect to the big game guys at all. It's just such a different game because, bobcat or whatever can live in a huge area. But one thing I just treasure about small game hunting is it's just right here.
Yeah.
For every bobcat that could be in this, how big is this place?
This area is 1,286 acres.
So 2 bobcats, maybe 3 in this area around here. And how many rabbits do you think live in there?
There's a lot of rabbits.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was telling you, 10 years ago, they would take 2,500 rabbits out of here a year. Right now, and they keep track of it here at the ODF&W office.
That's awesome.
The last few years have been like 350, 400. But the habitat is going away compared to what it used to be.
So what's happening? Break it down.
They're coming in and burning and mowing it. They've got some agenda. They just don't tell us what it is.
Yeah. They're always up to something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're depleting the brush, increasing the open area, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And since there's a lot of elk here.
There's
a herd just across the road here that probably is in the 350 range.
Yeah.
So when a herd of 350 comes through some farmer's field,
Not too happy.
we have a lot of grass seed here.
Yeah.
And they just decimate it.
This really does look like perfect. If the tall timber wasn't around, this would be just like West Texas, perfect jackrabbit country. You know, the grass seed farms are a jackrabbit's mecca. I mean, just perfect for them. You know what I mean? The little hummocks that the grass makes, they could just lay down, tuck in there, and have an endless smorgasbord of grass and open land to run. But the trees aren't their jam. Too many carnivores that like.
Yeah, the ones on the tree farms that we run here. Don't like to run the ones that don't have some type of border because the jackrabbit will just keep going, and then there's a lot of people around here. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of small farms and just people who've moved from the city, and so when your dog goes running across their porch, they get a little upset. So we
Even
try
if it's a cute little beagle.
Yeah. Well, you got 10 of them running across there.
Yeah.
You know, when we go in the mountains, we'll drop 20 dogs. You know, just like to listen to the roar.
Yeah, me too.
So
The roar, yeah.
they get mad when, you know, their cat comes running back up on the porch and is clawing at the door trying to get in, even though the dog's not chasing it. But,
Yeah.
So we try to only run the Christmas trees that are either way away from everybody or, you know, have some border to it.
And the jacks will stay kind of.
Yeah, they don't like going in the big timber. So
Yeah.
but like I said, we're lucky here because we can run anything and we can run all year long. There's no season and there's no bag limit.
Do you think the heat, you put them away in the summer?
Oh yeah, until it gets really hot, we'll get up super early,
same.
run for 4 or 5 hours before, you know, and quit at 9 o'clock or something. So, don't want to kill a dog out there.
Yeah, man, that's my MO. You know what I mean? We're hanging leashes up by by April at the very latest. We run at a couple of our, I live at 5,000 feet, right at 5,000 feet, and we run at a couple prairies that are 7,200 feet, and those stay significantly cooler longer. And so we're able to stretch, the hares start breeding there later, the jackrabbits start breeding there later, and they start breeding around April. We always hang up the leashes when it's breeding season. We don't want to.
So right now we're just starting to hit the breeding season.
I saw that brush rabbit was scrotal. I couldn't believe it so early in the year.
Yeah, they'll start having litters here the end of February.
That's crazy.
So, this is when the good running is.
Yeah.
And like I said, we don't shoot hardly any of them.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We just go out. And
you didn't even pull that gun out until I asked you. I was like, I want a brush rabbit in my hand. I want to see one. And you were like, well, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I just take it along.
Aussie.
A lot of times we just have our bows.
Yeah.
So,
if I would have known, I'd have brought mine.
It's fun. The people we take out for the archery hunt, they're most all of them are traditional archers.
I shoot a longbow, Bear, Montana. So.
I have a recurve, a Matthews recurve.
Nice. Open sights?
Yeah.
Nice.
No. I have
pins?
Yeah, I have
on
pins. Very rarely do you pin a rabbit out here.
Yeah, you don't have time.
No. I mean, sometimes you might catch it sneaking through and stop. It's pretty rare. Most of the shots are on the fly.
Yeah. So
you sit there and you're holding that thing with the compound. You can sit and hold it. So you can hold it for 2-3 minutes.
Definitely.
And wait for that because there's no way you're pulling it back and shooting.
Not us.
So not with the rabbit running as fast as he is.
Yeah. And I've dreamt of using my longbow to get a coon out of the tree, but I was like, I didn't want to bring it all the way up here just to, you know, with Charlie. And then we saw a bunch of coons. Tons. Shocking how many there are here. We walk those hazelnut farms.
Yeah.
I mean, the dogs find some, but you also just shine around and see them everywhere. But anyway, I wanted to shoot an arrow one, but I didn't want to deal with it. But if I would have known that this could have happened, I would have made it happen for the coons and the rabbits. It would have made my bow worth it.
Yeah.
But that sounds fun. I want to try that one day.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of flinging, not a lot of killing, but you know.
Yeah, that just means there's a rabbit for next time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. This is another big question I've always had, and I've had a lot to think about because I've been dreaming of beagle hunting for rabbits in a long time. Tell me about like predators on the beagles themselves.
We haven't had or I haven't had any trouble. I've seen coyotes come, but they have not come in aggressively. Other than when there's pups, they're more aggressive, but I still haven't had
It's not even
an
a
issue.
predation, more of just a get away from here kind of thing when the coyotes attack them if they have.
I've never had one attacked.
Yeah.
But Oregon now has wolves, and there's wolves the whole state. Don't let them tell you they're just in Eastern Oregon. I've seen them over here in the Coast Range.
Yeah, I've heard this already a bunch from several houndsmen.
Yeah, they're here. I've only heard of one time, and the guy had video of it up in the Cascades. His dogs were running, and a black wolf come out right behind him. He didn't lose any dogs.
Yeah.
He got them.
He drove the wolf off too, and
and he toned his dogs, and
they came in.
They came in.
Oregon has pretty ridiculous laws on the wolf thing. It sounds. I mean, you can't even shoot a wolf that's attacking your dogs.
But
who wouldn't? Who wouldn't exactly? Yeah. In New Mexico, it's if a wolf is bothering you in any way, shape, or form, your property, even if it's biting your car, it's done. You know what I mean? And that's socially perfectly acceptable, and it should be, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not really an opinion podcaster, but I mean, if something's attacking your property, we got a problem. A wolf shouldn't even be near a human. You know what I mean? Like, it should be booking it at any opportunity, which they always do because they'll get a bullet. Yeah. You know?
Not in Oregon. They're not scared of people. They come right up to people. I've videos of people deer hunting in Eastern Oregon where the wolves come right down the road towards the truck.
That's crazy. and the thing is like, I try to pay attention to the laws. I mean, let me rephrase that. I definitely pay attention to the laws everywhere I go, and I typically just avoid any of the trouble by not hunting myself. You know, I don't shoot anything, but Oregon is a very heavily regulated state compared to what I'm used to. And I've hunted around a bit, and there's a lot of things.
Yeah, there is.
It was $390 to get a rabbit license, to shoot a rabbit. And I was like, nah, I guess we just need Aussie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was surprised at that. And, you know, I've heard a lot of Beagles in my area. It's very uncommon, but very unpopular just because it doesn't really work very well. But coyotes can thrash a Beagle pack pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
They're hungry, and everything's hungry in the desert.
Yeah, like I said, we're lucky here. I mean, all those predators are here. Did have a dog run into a bear one time. And we couldn't, he quit. The rest of the packs keep going. I didn't understand what was going on. So we hiked all the way to the top of the damn hill, and he was hiding even from me. So we got up there, and we could see the bear tracks and everything where the bear had been. So
holy smokes!
It took him an hour probably before he even left my side, and then
wow! I wonder if the bear tried to get him, or if he.
I don't know. We never heard anything other than the rest of the dogs running, and when they come through, he wasn't there, and we're only assuming that he ran head on into that bear. And
dang.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. You've hunted way before there was GPS and telemetry.
Oh, yeah.
So how'd that go? I've always loved to ask this question because
you turn them loose.
Yeah. Did you ever lose any? And
I've never lost a dog other than somebody picking one up.
Oh.
I just lucky. I mean, you try to get your training in before so that when you call them, they come back.
Yeah. And luckily it's in a smaller area, it seems. You imagine turning out bear hounds that are running like 20 miles away from you, 15 miles.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it without.
Well, back then, you still had telemetry. You just didn't have GPS.
Beep beeps.
Yeah.
And you use those pretty widely?
No, not with the Beagles. Didn't really rely on any kind of telemetry stuff until Garmin came out with theirs. And
you like them?
Oh, yeah. Now, when I turn loose, I panic. If one color stops working, or I can't imagine what we did before to what we do now. It's so nice to know exactly where they are, how far away they are,
what they're doing. You learn so much about what they're really up to.
And you can see, if you really want to, you can just watch that thing, and when the keeps circling, then you go get on the circle if you really want to kill something. And you just stand there and wait for it.
It's real common for you can use a combination of trailing hounds and sight hounds to hunt coyotes, and you'll dump the trail hounds into the thickets, and they'll hunt the coyotes out, and then you be ready, and you can watch that race on your Garmin and just kind of have a more or less idea where we need to be paying attention when that coyote comes running out in the open, and you send the sight hounds to them. And very effective in like Minnesota and places where there's a combination of this and open. It would be awesome. All I could think about when I was driving through the grass seed areas was how effective that would be. And we saw 2 coyotes just chilling in the open grass seed areas.
And most of the grass seed farmers don't want you to kill them.
I figured that.
And even in Eastern Oregon, my cousin has an alfalfa farm over there, and he doesn't want you killing anything.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of jackrabbits, and
that's your helper.
Yeah.
Yep. I figured that.
Ground squirrels. I mean,
I figured that the grass seed farmers here would be pumped if I was running jacks with my greyhounds, or if there was any around. You know what I mean? But
there's none in the grass seed fields here.
Which is so
only
weird.
The Christmas trees.
Yeah, I guess the Christmas trees give them just a bit of that aerial cover they need from their
And that's where they were introduced.
Oh.
They were supposed to keep the grass down.
Houndsman XP is very proud of our partnership with the organization Freedom Hunters. Freedom Hunters is a nonprofit organization that takes America's veterans hunting from field to field, from the battlefield to a field near you when you volunteer your time to take America's warriors hunting with you and your hounds. It's easy. Go to houndsmanxp.com, click on the partnership tab, and it will take you to Freedom Hunters. You can go direct to their website to make donations at freedomhunters.org. Support America's heroes. Let's pay it back. Visit Freedom Hunters at freedomhunters.org or go to houndsmanxp.com and you can find them on our website from field to field.
So they introduced, so it's blacktails or whitetails?
Black-tailed jacks here.
I can't even believe they can survive here.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, they have a very limited range.
Yeah.
So it's very modified habitat that they need. But that sounds like I'd like to return and try that. I would. That's the exact opposite of my rabbit hunting. And I really wanted to experience the magnitude of the blackberries. And those little guys are fearless.
Yeah.
They're going straight in there. So, and what I wanted to ask you too, these are kind of questions I like to ask everybody, but what was the name of your favorite dog and why? Why?
Her name was Dana. First one I got from Branco. Maybe, I'm sure I have dogs that are as good as her, but at that point.
When was this?
Oh, probably 1993.
I was 3 years old.
She just would do everything. I mean, she hit the brush. Of course, my lazy dog that I didn't have look for the rabbit. I would look for the dang rabbit for her, and then put her on and just listen to the race. So she was like the first one that, I had and that just busted in there. And she could run by herself. She'd run at a thing. She ended up being the first UKC Grand Champion West Coast. She was just a good dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
awesome. Yeah. I'm sure you can count on a few, like one hand where these dogs that really stand out in your mind, but I always like to ask people that have been running for like 30 years and you always get a good answer there, But another thing I like to ask is what do you find absolutely unacceptable? Like in reality,
a dog that stands there and don't go in the brush.
Yeah.
As soon as you turn them loose, they better be, I don't care how thick it is out there. I mean, you saw how thick it is.
It was horrible. Yeah.
They better not stand on the road.
Does that happen often though?
Some people's dogs wait, just kind of piddle around until they start a rabbit, then they go in. I don't stand for that.
Yeah.
Back in my beginning days, that would have been my dog.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not looking for the rabbit. They need to look for the rabbit
Right.
and find it. So
definitely.
yeah, and
what they're
it's hard place.
Yeah.
They got to burrow in there. These rabbits are in that tight, thick stuff that some of it's only 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, it's completely invisible. Like, you can't see a thing. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face if you stuck it all the way out. Like,
No, it's hard. And you saw they get tore up. You got to doctor them up when you get back, and some of them lose parts of their tail. And
yeah, that's the first thing I noticed is that they're waggers.
Yeah.
Those little dudes are waggers. And so which one was the one that was missing a bit of his tail, actually?
That's Grim.
Grim, yeah. What happened?
He just beat it off. I had an appointment to have his tail docked, and by the time I got him there, that section had fallen off. And he still beats, some, but it's not the artery at the tip of the tail. And he would be almost anemic sometimes by the time
Holy smokes.
Got him back to the truck, and
just because it kept reopening because he just couldn't stop wagging.
It was just like he's a blue tick and he would be red.
Yeah.
So, but he would not quit. I mean,
When people think of the beagle, I until I started watching beagle hunting videos, I'd never seen a blue tick beagle. Is that a thing, or is that? Yeah.
The beagle can be any hound color except for black and white.
And the breed standard, like that's tall. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
In the show ring, you always just see the like white, the tricolor ones.
Yeah. That's the kind of the show dog thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't care what.
I like blue ticks myself.
They look cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen one until I saw yours in person.
Yeah.
So they're really cool. I mean, they just look like yours kind of look like a midget limousine blue tick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that I was very curious about that, and if that was an admixture from like other breeds coming in, or no, it's just history of the beagle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was gonna ask you, have you hunted anything else besides rabbits, or are you just a rabbit man to your core?
You mean with dogs?
Yeah, with dogs.
I used to run coon and bobcat when I had some big hounds too, but it got too much to be running at night all day and then running the beagles too. So I gave up the big hounds and just kept the beagles.
You just thought the beagle was more. What do you love about rabbit hunting, I guess, is my question too.
You see a lot of the race. You're not just watching your Garmin and driving the roads looking for, waiting for the tree and then going to the tree. You can actually see the dogs working.
I love that.
And if you're out running and you just want to sit down, you can sit down in one spot and still watch.
There's benches out there.
Yeah.
And we did sit at a bench.
Yeah.
Like, it was cool to.
Because the rabbit circles.
Yeah.
And
I really do love that.
Yeah.
I was enjoying that immensely. Small game hunting is kind of like bird hunting, where you get this rapidity of action, and there's so many of them in a dense area, like we'd kind of talked about earlier, and just, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that too. And seeing your dogs work, where I live in the West, you can, actually, you're way more West than me. Where I live in the Southwest, you can follow your dogs on mules and horses really well. But here, you would get annihilated trying to take a horse through there.
Yeah, there's unless you're at a jackrabbit where you could
Christmas tree farm.
Christmas tree. I mean, it's too steep and brushy in the mountains.
It's very steep where I live, but not brushy.
Yeah.
It's all open on the understory. I mean, there's places that are thick, but it's not like this. This is just, if you're not in a clear cut, it's good luck.
Yeah, we have Salmonberry's Devil's Club. I mean,
Devil's Club and Salmonberry are just like,
there's some nasty stuff those dogs run through.
The Salmonberry is like the blueberry on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw my first Salmonberries and I was, no way.
And we'll pick up this interview right after a word from one of our sponsors.
Hey, Hound Doggers, if there is one thing that you could identify Houndsman XP with, it has got to be the message of building unity and bridging the gap. That's why we are proud to sponsor with a company like Dogs Are Treed. Dogs Are Treed is a company that is based in Ingham, Idaho. It's run by houndsmen. The products were designed by houndsmen. We're talking decades of experience in the field with some legendary hounds doing some legendary work out there. And Kevin Hall has put his decades of experience into building products that benefit you, the houndsman. So when you're shopping for your gear, check out Dogs Are Treed at dogsaretreed.com. And if you go to their website at checkout and enter the code HXP 20% off, you will get 20% off of your entire order on all of their branded products. Leashes, tie-outs, medical kits, paws are protected. Build your pack from the ground up and support a fellow houndsman that supports your lifestyle. Enter the code HXP 20% off at checkout. Go to their website today at dogsaretreed.com.
Well, our big hound people are super limited now.
Yeah.
The only thing you can run here is bobcat and coons. They voted out cougar, and
the regulations are so crazy. Well, that's what happens when your entire voting force is driven by like a city, basically.
Yeah, Portland, Salem, and Eugene decide everything for Oregon.
It's just, and that's a shame. It's a shame. I'm glad that I live in a very heavily depopulated state that's still pretty in touch with rural living, because it seems like as we become more polarized as a society politically, we're just starting to really see that magnification of the effect of it's just these islands of blue surrounded by a sea of red.
That's what Oregon is.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I found Oregon beautiful its wild spaces are really truly beautiful. And I was shocked at some of the things I saw in the cities that I was just like, wow, I'm not really a city guy. I'm not used to cities, but like Portland is exactly what I expected it to be. You know, I'm going back tomorrow to just spend some more time with a friend that actually lives there. I want to get in there and really see more of it. But
well, after the riots, I mean, everything is just gone to hell.
That's what I was kind of getting at, but I didn't want to be too rude. But yeah, the
homeless. It's true. The homeless situation.
Shocking.
Shocking. And Portland last year, I forget how many murders they had, like 500%, you know, and then we had the riots for 8 months, every single night, you know, it's, I'm glad I don't live up there.
I think us rabbit hunters, we're lucky in that rabbits have that stereotype of being this ubiquitous animal that will always be available for us to hunt, but that doesn't mean obviously that we don't stand up for our hound hunting brethren and vote. And get active in your clubs. I mean, have you seen what is the club situation like here?
It's going away. We have no. Mary's Peak Hound Club is the one I'm involved with. We used to have probably 80 members. We're down to like 15.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Participation's just down. We quit having field trials because we'd only have the same 4 people show up. We used to have 40, 50 people. I don't know what has changed.
I interview people from all over the country, and they all say the same. Anybody that's been doing this for 30 plus years, they all, in the 80s and 90s, it was like you would have this huge jamboree with like 50 pickups out here, and just, I wonder what changed.
And like this area we're at now, you know, 5 years ago, we'd have run into 5 packs of hounds just out.
Even just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And today, did we see anybody else?
No, just some guys walking their dogs.
Yeah. We had the whole place to ourselves. That was unheard of. Even last year, it wasn't near this bad. So I don't know if COVID restrictions are still scaring people or what happened. But it's
a real shame too, because I like they say, getting active in your clubs, you know, and it's like, yes, but no one's even coming. It's like hunting is getting more popular. Hunting tag sales have gone up in the West everywhere. But why is houndsmanship dropping? I don't know. And that's the whole point of what we're talking about right now.
Well, the younger generation doesn't come out.
Yeah, you're right.
That's where we're losing it.
Totally agree.
You know, I don't know if they just don't want to walk or they rather stay home and play video games.
I think that.
You know.
Screen time is crazy.
It's a lazy generation, if you ask me. I mean, it is, I'm sorry to say, but it's easier just to have your kids sit there and watch TV than to go out and do something with them.
And also, our population, I think, is moved towards the cities. You know, 2009 was the first time that more humans lived in cities than rural areas, and the first time in our history as a species. And if you live in Portland, how are you going to get out and experience beagle hounds? You know what I mean?
There's places up there to run.
Yeah.
You know, we used to have a bunch of people from the Portland area.
And I guess, interest is waning. I don't know. Yeah, because I grew up hunting, but never with dogs. And actually, before I got into hound hunting, sight hounds, of course, but until I got into hound hunting, my family actually had a pretty negative view on hound hunting. That stereotypical big game hunter view of like, oh, you just dump that tailgate and those dumb mutts run out and find something and you just stand there and drink coffee until they have something treed. And it's like,
yeah, they don't realize how much work goes into getting to a tree. If you get to a tree,
they realize how much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're in the beginnings, and it's so hard.
Yeah,
so frustrating. And I've been so spoiled because I typically gravitate towards people that have been doing this for at least 20 years or more, and so I'm spoiled rotten. Like today, I went out with Master, who has excellent dogs. You've worked for decades to get to that point, and we've had success. But when I also hunt with younger guys like myself that are just getting started, it's very frustrating. Even though they're starting out with good pack of good genetics and the mentors that are really trying to help them, it's just not the same.
No, it's a lot of time.
So much.
I mean, thousands of hours, more than money.
Yeah.
It's the time you put into it. You know, we're out here, you know, this time of year because I work. It's dark when I get home. It's, you know, dark when I leave. So they're pretty much limited to weekends. So then they still get 30 hours a week. You know, they're out running. And then once spring starts hitting, we're running almost every night after work. And then through the summer, same thing, you know. So as time lengthens, the dogs get more running time. So it just takes a lot of time. You just don't go buy that puppy and bring it out here and
which is
run
what
rabbits.
Thinks. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time.
So much, and also you kind of have this. I guess the way I'd kind of view it is, I don't know if you're a baker or not, but like when you make sourdough bread, you have that fermented sponge of bread that you just take a piece off and add to your raw dough, and it turns it into sourdough. And when you have that mother sponge that's ready, your pack, you can just keep adding that raw dough to it, which is puppies, and keep the self-perpetuating, skillful pack going.
So when puppies, we'll bring them out with the big dogs until they start. Once they start, we never run them with the other ones until they're probably a year old or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you want them to be able to do it themselves. You don't just want them to be in the pack.
So that was the exact opposite of what I was just saying. Wow.
Yeah, so once the puppies start, only puppies go. So
you kind of maybe going through that frustrating a little bit of them learning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's some days you're just sitting there and going, oh, man. But the strain that we have now, they're pretty, we saw, just the one puppy we had today, she's in the brush. She's just now 4 months old, and she's starting to open on the track. So here pretty soon, she won't be coming out we'll just run a puppy pack. So.
Wow.
So you don't want them to be influenced and just following the other dog.
Oh, wow.
You want them to be able to do the same thing themselves.
So you don't think they build that independence at all if they're just copying the adults?
No, I don't think so. Like I say, once they start, we just bring them out, and then once they're doing better and they're probably 7-8 months old, throw them in, with a small pack. Because I mean, if all they do is follow another dog and bark, what good is that?
Yeah, that's amazing. And sounds like you're starting them quite young too.
Most of ours start about 4 or 5 months old.
Perfect. That's what I was going to ask. You don't start a coursing hound until their bodies have developed more. You know what I mean? Because it's so so pounding on their bodies, But this is a much more slow and nose game, really.
Yeah.
So and then also, tell me what you're looking for in a pup. It sounds like you don't select pups as much because you're just breeding a line and you've got it dialed in. But what are you looking for in a beagle pup? If you had to pick out a litter, what are you looking for in the characteristics?
You can just reach in. I asked this to Branko one time. How do you pick the best puppy? He says you close your eyes and you reach in there. You never know.
Yeah.
Unless you keep every one of them, you never know which one's the best.
A frequent flyer on our show, Mike Cawley, he's a good friend of the guy who owns the podcast. He says the one you hunt the most.
And that's true. Branko also told me a mediocre dog in really good shape can make a really good dog that's out of shape look bad.
Yep. That's so true.
Yeah. So it's
especially in my world.
Yeah. I mean, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah. I guess you could have a pretty mediocre coursing dog, but if he's in killer shape, he's gonna run good.
Yeah. And the same goes out here. Eventually you'll see he's cheating there, or he's doing this or doing that.
Cheating is what? That's another thing. What is cheating?
Cheating for us is a really competitive dog that doesn't run the whole track. It'll start swinging out and around to get
it'll go from the back and cut everyone.
Yeah.
I
don't have any of those. I wouldn't.
Well, okay,
really
why is that bad? First of all, I'm going to ask you, why is that bad? Because he's just getting up to the front and trying to get ahead and work the track faster, right?
Yeah, and then he blows past it, and he's pulling other dogs that are on the track, trying to, you saw what they do. They hark in. So if this dog is constantly cheating, he's pulling the other dogs all the time.
Got it. Okay.
And
I didn't understand where the problem was.
That's how you lose rabbits.
Gotcha. That dummy, he's just overshooting it or just lying almost.
Well, he's not lying. He's just cheating.
Yeah.
He wants the front so badly that he will do anything to get there.
Do you think there's a situation where that dog would be ideal? Like in a competition setting or something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And what we run, they're scratched or minused for that exact same thing.
Gotcha.
And out here, you can kind of see why maybe a dog would want to cheat when you hit that nasty thicko brush.
Yeah.
And it's easier just to pop around.
Just like,
but you want those dogs that suck it up and go through.
and just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I was going to say. What is unacceptable behavior when you're running a rabbit? It sounds like that is the major
That's
one.
the worst one, and backtracking.
Do beagles, do you have like tree aggression with beagles? They don't seem to, do you have problems with beagles fighting each other out there? Or
No, I've never had a beagle fight.
That'd be kind of funny only because they're so small.
Yeah.
You know? It'd be like breaking them up by just like picking
The
them
only
up.
fight that I've ever had I caused when I accidentally hit the shock button when I was trying to tone, and the dog he turned around, there was a dog right on his butt, and then it just started.
Why did you bite me?
Yeah, that's the only fight I've had. Sometimes at home they'll yak at each other,
Right.
when they're in the dog pen or whatever. But I've never. I did have one fighter, and he didn't last very long.
Right. Yeah, I won't tolerate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely will not. And in coursing hounds, it's very rare.
Yeah.
They're very peaceful animals.
Beagles pretty much are too.
You're selecting for that.
Yeah.
And because nobody's tolerated that for hundreds, thousands of years. If you got a pack fighter, he's done. And I agree. I couldn't agree more. I don't tolerate aggression. So we have some people in the southwestern, like dry ground lion scene, that really love to add beagles to their big game pack. And they say that beagles have these characteristics that only beagles have inside here. What do you love about beagles?
For a little dog, they got a lot of heart.
That's what I hear.
And you saw how much heart they have. I mean, it takes a lot of guts and heart to go through the stuff they have.
That's why I said I'd make a bad beagle for the brush.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not just out here. I mean, those guys back east are running through some nasty, thick stuff too. And so, I mean, it's not just a strain. It's most hunting strains of beagles are hardy. They don't get sick very often.
Very healthy.
They're small.
Yeah.
You could have more.
That's absolutely true. That's what I couldn't stop thinking about, and I brought up when we were out there, is that how big does Grim weigh?
Grim's probably about 32 pounds.
Yeah, he's you have big beagles.
He's a full 15.
Yeah.
And then Boomer's full 15. He's like 34 pounds.
My Salukis are between 40 and 60. My biggest male greyhound is 70, and my littlest one is 48 or so. You could have 10 beagles for the cost of my pack of feed. You know what I mean? And even though my dogs look like they're prisoner of war camp survivors, they eat more than you think they do.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
It just
they have to.
Yeah. And so I love that the little dogs, and they have so many advantages. Smaller space in your home, smaller space out in your kennels, smaller poops to clean up, smaller food bill, smaller med bill. Just look. When Missy left her little box back there, she had all 5 of those dogs in there.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful little box.
Yeah.
You couldn't fit one of my deer in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and I love that idea of your food bill's a lot cheaper than mine. And when you're out here hunting and having a great time, and a beagle comes up to some walker or someone that's just out enjoying nature, and a little beagle comes running out of the bushes, it's not intimidating. You know what I mean? It's just a cute little beagle, and he screams.
Even the big ones, I think, are cute.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at that lab that's 100 pounds.
Yeah, and so you have this like adorable little guy that just makes a crazy demonic banshee sound, and he runs back into the forest.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are so many advantages to them. I just curious what you thought. I like beagles. I have 2 beagle mongrels, but I like them because they seem to they did not want to stop.
No.
You had to. They were dragging their little feet around before it was time to go, and
you got to leash them up to bring them back. Even when they're tired, you'll be out, and one of them's going to bust into the brush and find something else. So like I said here, I mean, we are super lucky where we live here in Oregon, and I mean, within an hour of my house, I can hunt any kind of rabbit I want. Plus, there's deer, elk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here, I mean,
it's really nice to hunt here. If you can.
My dad has them in his yard, elk in his yard all the time. It's politically, I don't like it, but as far as what you can do here,
the opportunity. I
mean, you can go to Central Oregon, not hunting, but you can go over there and camp and kayak and all those lakes, go kokanee fishing. I mean, the
fishing game seems on point here.
It is.
Yeah. I went to the coast. That was awesome. You have the ocean.
Yeah. That's where I grew up. Is right on the Salmon River. There's the ocean.
There's no end to our lifestyle when you're in it like us, or like you especially, I can't even say that, I've only been doing it 6 years, but where do you see yourself going? What's a goal you have for your packing? There's no one that's just done, no stagnation. Where do you see yourself going? What's your goals? Where do you want to go with this?
I just want to have fun.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?
Do you have any goals that you're trying to get your pack to, or you think they're peaked?
There's never a peak.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something better.
So what do you think is better? What would you like to see your pack improve on?
I don't know. I mean, I have a good pack, but I like watching young ones start. You know, I like watching them get better, and even though it's boring at the beginning, because we don't start our dogs in a pen. We don't use a tame rabbit to start them. They come out here and they start in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it takes longer, and I just want to have fun, and that's what I'm having. And when I stop having fun, I'll get rid of the dogs.
Yep. I hear that literally a lot, that exact phrase. And that's so true. I couldn't agree with you more.
I'm getting closer to retirement. So once I retire...
Your pack's going to get even better.
Yeah. I mean,
retired dudes have the best dogs.
Yeah. That's what I want, you know. My kids did OSET, which was horse-related stuff, youth rodeo. So during that time when I wasn't running, my friends were still out here running. I missed it, you know, but...
You had to do what you had to do.
Yeah. So now I'm back and enjoying it.
You big game hunt you also hunt other animals as well?
Yeah. Deer and elk.
What is it about hound hunting that you just love so much?
I just love the noise.
You know what? For a completely silent endeavor that I'd take part in, I do too. I gotta be honest, I do too. I really, when that box is booming or when those little guys are on the ground just shrieking their guts out on a rabbit, it's
exciting when they're excited. So, I mean, you can tell everybody by their voice, and you can pretty much tell what they're doing, you know.
Yeah, and that's so true. And that blew my mind because I never spent any time with scent hound people. I'd been hunting sight hounds for a long time before I even started branching out, thanks to this show. And it is amazing how you can interpret what those scent hounds are doing just by their bark. Not even their who's barking, what they're doing, how they're feeling. You know, I mean, you can tell. Do they see the rabbit, or are they just trailing it?
You can tell when there's a sight raised.
Yeah, and how often does that happen?
Out here, not that often.
Yeah, in the forest maybe.
When they might jump one up there, but it's out of sight quick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you saw the steepness of, you probably did if you were up there.
We were up there on Agency Creek, and some of that stuff was like.
Yeah, it's steep. I would guess probably in one race they could go 1,000 feet in elevation, you know.
Yeah. Those little buggers are moving those tiny legs.
Yeah.
So and that's, I love the communal aspect of hound hunting. You know, we're all out there just having a great time. No camo, no sneaking around. We're just chatting, and there goes a rabbit, you know, and then here they come.
Yeah, there's a place up in the Cascades where we used to go up the club as a club. We would go up there and have a camp out for like 3 or 4 days and run. And the Forest Service even named a spot there where we camp, Rabbit Camp Road. So
perfect.
You know, right now it's about 10 feet under snow.
Yeah, I was gonna say snow probably limits your ability to hunt these little guys because they're so short, right? I mean,
well, especially where our snowshoes are. I mean, once the snow starts, it's done. I mean, you go back in the spring and you can see where the rabbit's been chewing on the things 10 feet in the air.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of snow.
Wow. Yeah, I don't deal with snow like that.
So probably this year we'd had a lot of snow up there. So I'm guessing probably 1st of July before we could probably actually get back there.
Have they turned brown? They were completely brown at that point?
Yeah. Well, some of them, there's been years where they've been kind of half white or the feet are white.
When did they start turning white?
I'm not sure exactly. Probably November, somewhere in there.
Yeah. That's amazing. Isn't that such an incredible adaptation?
It is.
Their hares are so successful. You got jackrabbits are hares, you know.
Yeah.
You got southern deserts, Oregon tree farms, Saudi Arabian dunelands, you know, African plains. They're so successful, and they're amazing. I'm a rabbit dork, so I was especially excited to get my hands on a brush rabbit, and so I'm going to say your shooting still made it happen, but thank you, Ozzy, for bringing it in. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you, is there any questions you had for me, or you had any final thoughts? Or...
No, I'm just glad you had a good time.
I had an amazing time. I don't want to. I felt a little rude because I was like out there just, this is. But I came to hang out with friends and meet new people, make friends. But I came to see your beagles. You know what I mean? I'm a rabbit hunter, and so coon hunting is awesome. I had a great time. I've seen more coons this week than I ever have in 30 years of living. And Charlie's dogs got it done every night. We were slamming coons like it was going out of style. We didn't shoot any because I didn't have a tag, and it was just like whatever, leave them for another day. But it was still cool. But I'm a rabbit man, and so to see those rabbits and then to see them succeed and to see the dogs catch one, that blew me away. I only thought my speed mutants could catch one, and so like to see that they can catch them in there was
that wasn't from speed. That was just from the length of time,
tenacity, and it is a tenacity too with mine, but a much more high speed. So David, I really wanted to thank you for taking me out, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And
I'm glad you came.
Yeah, and
next time you're up, let us know.
And if you want to come back to my place, and
I would love to see that.
Anytime, absolutely anytime,
All
sir.
right. Nice
Thank you
to
so
meet
much.
you.
Yes, sir. Thanks again.
You bet.